Hello YouTube, this is Gitonix, and basically since my last video about the Cold Arrow Zoom Zone build for Project Diablo 2 Season 12, a lot of people in the comments have been pointing out about the Pus Spitter option and how it is better, and because I have been talking it down in my last video, but basically I didn't fully understand how to build it properly, so I decided to give it a try, build it properly and do a full-on comparison. Now I have run several dozens of maps with both approaches, recording the times and doing other content in the game to see what really is the deal here, and so I can give you some good information about the two approaches. Now the results have been quite surprising to me, but at the same time they are not as one-sided as many would have you believe. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. I am not going to go over the full build over the other items because they're exactly the same as with the previous build. The only thing that's changing is our weapon, our gloves, the Mercenary, and of course, since we're the difference is Act 1 or Act 2 Mercenary, they have a different weapon, right? So let's look at the Mercenary first. So with the Pus Spitter, you want to go for an Act 1 Fire Mercenary with the Vigor Aura, and you want to give her Faith, right? Sorry, I noticed I didn't give her Bolts, but doesn't really matter. The point is, look at this, we managed to we roll this ourselves, and we rolled 100% perfect 15 Fana, 345 ED with a 15 ED base Faith. Very proud about this one. Anyways, the only important thing here is of course the level of the Fanaticism aura, where level 15 is quite a bit better than all the other levels because it allows us to do a little trick on our gear, which is very useful. As for the helm and armor, she absolutely doesn't need this. These are just the two rune words I've been using on my Act 2 Mercenary, but for her, it doesn't matter. You want to give her just some PDR, just survivability gear. She does an okay damage, but really nothing to write home about, so survivability is the big thing here. So, that out of the way, if we walk here, thanks to the Fanaticism aura, so here we're at, with our gear, we're at 12 frames per attack, but thanks to the Fana, we reach 9 frames per attack, same as with the Ice Demon Crossbow. So that was my main issue, because I didn't understand that you know, like how easy and what I have to do to reach this and what happens after. Nonetheless, the other thing that the Mercenary provides us is of course the Vigor Aura. Now Vigor Aura gives us, I believe, she has a level 18 aura, which gives us 42 faster run walk. It doesn't show here, but 42 flat faster run walk translates to a roughly 9% increase in overall speed. Because of the diminishing returns, if of course we are not stacking run and walk, the Vigor Aura is much more impactful, but because of the diminishing returns, it gives us a 9% speed boost overall, which is actually really good and quite noticeable. So the thing is, with the 15 Fanaticism aura, we only need 65 increase attack speed to reach the 9 frames per attack, and that means that if we're getting 20 from our gloves, we only need 45 on our weapon, and needing only 45, there is a 10 IAS base on the Pus Spitter, so then you just need 35 from your sockets. That means that instead of using 2 shell runes, which you have to do if your Fanaticism isn't level 15, you can use 1 shield rune and 1 jewel, right? A 15 IS jewel. So for us here, we chose to go with a 15 IS Aura's jewel. But what you can do, which is really great, is you can use a 15 IS 3 MPK jewel, mana per kill, and that way you don't need to have a ring ring, boots, or another piece with mana per kill on it. You know, relying on finding your the item you want with the correct corruption. So that is very useful. Otherwise, damage-wise, you see that the damage is actually the same, or only slightly, or only not even 1k higher than with our ice crossbow approach. So not a big difference there, but of course we're getting the lower resist procs from the crossbow, which lower enemy resistance about 10 to 15 points more than Conviction does. I can't remember the exact difference now, but you can easily check that out on the PD2 wiki. What else does Pus Spitter give us is, of course, the flat attack rating based on character level and life after each hit. Now, life after each hit is awesome. It's better than life after kill. It's very comfortable, the sustain on this weapon. It's really nice. And the attack rating actually makes up roughly evenly for the fact that we don't, our Mercenary is not running Conviction, which lowers enemy defenses, and that we don't have Blessed Aim from the Mercenary, and that we don't have Ignore Target Defense on our weapon. So it is a little worse. But on the attack rating side, but nothing really very significant. Overall, doing the, running this in maps, I have to say that the Pus Spitter approach is actually indeed faster. I have been roughly a half a minute faster on Citadels. Some other maps have been almost 1 minute faster. Some other maps not as much, but as a general, it was always faster. Now, when it comes to the procs, there have been some comments, saying that the Amazon with the run walk with the Act 2 Mercenary, which kind of like often gets stuck somewhere behind, and the Conviction doesn't apply to all the monsters, and it's a waste. Well, I would honestly say, after running both for quite a while, that it's about roughly equal, because how the proc of the lower resist works on striking is that very often you come across a group and you shoot, and basically the curse applies only after the hit is calculated. So what happens is that you hit a group, and the lower res only applies to monsters around them, but they might not, it's not applied onto them yet. So you are hitting often monsters that do not have the curse applied, and yeah, so I'd say that's roughly equal. I think that the main difference in the clear speed actually really comes down to the faster run and walk from the Victoria, because the damage output is roughly the damage output is roughly the same, honestly. Now, what is better, or better say what is worse about this Pus Spitter approach, is that if you want to do other content in the game, like Uber Ancients, Ubers, Diablo clone, and such, then the Pus Spitter is quite noticeably worse. Why? Well, Diablo clone for obvious reasons. You can't have your Mercenary with you, which means that... Actually, I didn't need to do that. Which means that we only have 12 frames per attack, and of course the lower resist curse is also wasted on Diablo clone and the ads, because they cannot be cursed. And also because you don't, and that will be a recurring theme, because you also lose the aura, right? The Holy Freeze that you get from ice. So that also makes it less safe. But the main problem with like Ubers and Uber Ancients is that the Act 1 Mercenary just keeps running away, and you don't really have a body to stand in front of you, which otherwise for this content is very comfortable if you get the Act 2 Mercenary. He will just stand in front of you and tank the hits, and all you have to do is feed him rejuves, and you can stand behind and deliver the damage onto the Ubers, and that's very nice. This is like this. This is our original setup. All right, so you see the damage is the same, or 1k lower, and everything else is the same as well. So we also hit the 9 frames per attack. But so overall, I would say that for mapping, the Pus Spitter is better. It just is faster. However, I think that for single player, not only because it's actually easier in single player to find you know, a low and a jaw rather than a Pus Spitter that you corrupt for 4 sockets, and then you need to find more facets than you already need for your build just to put them in the weapon, because that's the best thing you can do. Now, of course, before you have faith on your mercenary, you can put 4 shale runes in the weapon and get kind of close to that. But yeah, getting a good Pus Spitter on single player is much harder than getting the runes for an ice. On hardcore, or for, you know, if you like running all the other content, the torches, the branchants, the declone, and you like to do all these things yourself, like I do, for example, I really enjoy, you know, every time I farm keys in my maps, I go and do 1 Uber run that gives me a Black Soulstone. Then I usually buy the Primeval Soul. Then I do Diablo. Then I run a Diablo clone. I do not run them for profit. I run them because, you know, this Annie is fully self-found and self-slammed, and this torch is self-found. Just by, you know, running maps and then gathering the ingredients and, you know, playing the game like it's intended, not relying on trade for these things. So, and the Holy Freeze is also very good. So for hardcore, the sustain on this build is a little worse because we don't get the life per hit. But the Holy Freeze, basically, if things become dicey and you get surrounded, Holy Freeze slows enemies by 50%, regardless of their cold immunities or whatnot. So so it's very noticeable that the moment you're surrounded, you're very safe, even though the radius of the aura is actually very small. So yeah, there you have it. You see us, like, you know, they're all frozen and slow. So there you have it. That's about the breakdown, and now you can just decide for yourself which one of the approaches you want to run. But you see now that my run walk speed is actually, you know, those 10% can be noticed, but oh yeah, one little advantage of the ice crossbow is a little like quality of life is actually the gold find, because ice has gold find based on character level 300%, and that means that when running with this, I never run out of gold. I always have a full stash with 15 millis, and so I never have to buy it, but it's a small thing. Alright, so there you go. I think we've covered everything. If I missed something, or if you have any more questions, you can reach out in the comments. But again, I'm happy to have found out that you know, this approach really works, and that it is very good and indeed better for mapping. And so there you go. Have good fun. Peace.